Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to the Matrix. Good morning, Nikolai. How are you?
Good morning or afternoon already. Doing
Yeah, it
great.
is. It is afternoon, and it is a glorious afternoon. And I had some packages arrive in the last couple days, of which started for me the rabbit hole that I think we're going to go down and explore today. So,
Okay.
you
I'm
would have
excited to
known.
be surprised what the topic will be today.
Yeah, well. So you, my good man, were the inspiration for these.
You got books. Nice.
Yes,
Nice.
yes. I found listening to Hawkins was far too difficult because it's very dense, and
It's dense, yeah. Yeah.
it's dense. So I was like, well, let me get a
Yeah.
proper book, and yeah, that's kind of the rabbit hole I want to go down and start today, because even yesterday, and we were talking about that before we pressed the record button, just dealing with my own emotions and seeing, well, how do emotions play into the whole matrix? So, first place I wanted to go with this today is like, okay, well, looking at it from your angle and the matrix angle, what are emotions and why does consciousness permit them?
Mm. So, emotions, I'd say, is one of the most important, if not the most important instruments to navigate life on this planet in a fifth matrix. It's like the most important dashboard that indicates what is going on, and we completely, as a humanity, misunderstood, and still 99.9% of people misunderstand emotions, and there are all types of um, theories and philosophies, like some people say don't suppress emotions, some suppress emotions this, emotions that, and there's just fuck ton of confusion. And
I
so the
know.
first thing to understand is to unpack is what is actually emotion. Emotion is just an energy of a specific vibration. So for example, the lowest vibration would be on the spectrum of anger. So there are two main emotions, and everything else is a flavor of those. On one end, it's absolute love, and absolute
Mm-hmm.
love is a bit different than unconditional love. Unconditional love is just one of the aspects of absolute love, and people confuse that. They think they need to develop only the quality of unconditional love. Yes, that's a first major step. Unconditional love is also what we call the love of Jesus. That's what that energy is. But then there is also love of Buddha, which is understanding that everybody has unique journey and is fighting their own inner battle to navigate their karma and learn how to interact with different types of energies and etc. Then there is love of Allah, which is basically love of knowledge and learning not to judge people who lack knowledge or misunderstand something. And there is also love of Shiva, which is Shiva is the energy of destruction, understanding when you need to destroy something to protect life or to create new life or etc. And all of those four combined together is the absolute love. So that's one side of the spectrum, and there are many states on the way there. There are different flavors of the I'd say the lowest one would be, we could call it, or the border going to low vibration feelings, emotions, would be neutral state. And then you start going up where you're like positive, optimistic, and there are like all type people use all types of words, excited, enlightened, and then you go all the way up to absolute, the state of absolute love, and that's like the highest vibration energy. And then if you go to the other side, those are the flavors of anger. So you're basically oscillating between love and anger, and everything, all the so-called low vibration feelings, emotions, are flavors of anger. The direction, it just the vector of the energy flow changes. So, for example, guilt and shame is anger turned inwardly. So you're applying the anger towards yourself because you feel shameful
Mm.
or you feel guilty and etc. Right? Uh, you're angry at someone. You're triggered. You're frustrated. You've turned that vector of energy outside to something outside. So that's okay. So this is the first foundational understanding that emotions are just energy of different vibration. And through that, if we correctly use this instrument, then it's much easier for us to navigate the world. So there is to further understand the foundational structure of emotions, we need to understand pre-emotion. And pre-emotion is what we feel before the flavor of emotion fully formed. And we feel them. There is a positive pre-emotion, which is expansion, which is basically moving towards high vibrational feeling, which is unconditional love, which we absolute love, and unconditional love is one of the forms. That's also what we call joy and happiness, because when we're in state of true, authentic joy and happiness, we experience absolute love. We feel complete, we feel full of energy, and etc. So the pre-emotion that is feels towards joy, happiness, excitement, and etc. is a positive one. And there is a pre-emotion, and that's a feeling of expansion. Then there is a pre-emotion of contraction that goes towards low vibration emotion. So when we start feeling tension, oh, I'm going to get angry, triggered, shameful, the list goes on, jealous,
Mm-hmm.
blah, 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 right? Uh, so we were just before this call, we talked about developing the ability or skill of observer. And that's why people do
Yeah.
yoga, breath work, meditation, to develop, to separate themselves from falling into the emotion, to be able to observe the pre-emotion first and then the emotion. And then what it means is when we developed through those instruments this quality of observer, we first can observe the pre-emotion. And it's like the tension arises and then the emotion forms. If we catch ourselves at the state of attention, we're like, okay, it's time to go to a state of observer. So it's basically you move your point of consciousness and you observe how specific part of this being starts behaving. And then you don't have to jump into playing it out. Let's say anger is forming. You're like, oh, tension. Okay, I go into observer, anger formed. And it's like, no judgment, because in the state of observer, the state of observer is unconditional love, non-judgment, and curiosity, where you're just observing what's forming. And so now this energy within this being has activated, let's say, of an anger, and there are two options. You can play into it and express it. So you start screaming at somebody, or you start like guilt tripping yourself or whatever, or you can observe it, pass it, and analyze it. So how do we use this instrument? What this instrument is indicating to us is if we're in alignment or on the right path. So anytime we're moving towards an experience that is aligned with with our purpose, we're supposed to go, we should experience more and more expansive emotions. That means we're going in the right direction. That means there is energy that our body is missing, and we can get that energy there. If we're going into the state of contraction, we're going in a direction where there's no energy that we're seeking. With a caveat here, if that contraction goes into a state of like anger, that means we haven't learned how to interact with the energy we're facing. Meaning we got into a situation where we're interacting with someone, something, or situation that where we're getting angry. We haven't learned how to interact with that. So that's where the state of buffer or observer really helps, where we can pause and it's like, why am I getting angry? Oh, this person is behaving that way. There's no point of getting angry. That's just how this person is wired, and they're learning me to interact with this type of energy. I brought an example multiple times in the past. One of my karmas or energies I didn't know how to interact was uh, uh, energy of a child, and that energy can be expressed by a child or by adult who is like doing so-called stupid thing. Right? So I would pause. Oh, okay, this person is teaching me how to interact with this type of energy, and by me perfecting how to learn how to interact with this type of energy, I'm not a parent yet, but I'm set up to be a parent now, because none of that behavior, so-called irrational or um, childish, whatever you want to call it, does not trigger me anymore. It's like I just observe it, and then I can act from a place of here and now constructively to lead it to a constructive resolution. So basically, if I would summarize emotions, the first thing to understand about emotions, if we're going somewhere that is aligned, then we start feeling that expansion. That means we're on the right path. Uh, if it's we feel contraction, that means either energy will be taken from us there in that situation, or we will not receive the energy that we're missing. Because this whole game is, it's like what is it called, the Pokemon Go. Remember that game where people were walking around with the fucking phones around the city collecting
Yeah, yeah,
Pokemons?
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
hilarious. So this Matrix 5 is Pokemon Go. It just, we're collecting energies and we're interacting with different type of energies. So if we're going to a place that will give us energy that we're missing in the moment, then we feel expansion. I'll give you an example. I'm sitting on the couch watching, I don't know, TV show. I start sensing the pull to open a bottle of beer. And I was like, why am I want a beer? But if I'm aligned, uh, then I was like, okay, I'll open a beer and I'll drink it. But then if I look deeper, I needed the energy that beer could offer to me. So that's why I went for that experience. And that's, of course, we can get super nuanced and granular as sensitivity increases. Let's say, I'll give you another practical example. Like I have a couple days that Friday I usually don't book anything, and Saturday, Sunday is a weekend. I don't book anything, with some
Hmm.
small exceptions here and there. And I'm hanging out Friday, and I was like planning to go to the beach, but out of nowhere, I'm being pulled to, I feel expansion if I would work on the redo the English course, the Atman alignment course. And I was like, the old version of Nikolai would be like, that's work. That's like, I was like planning to go to the beach, prioritize the beach, but I'm just being pulled in that direction. My mind doesn't get it, but clearly there is some energy for me there. So I go for 2 days. I spend Friday and Saturday, the whole days, redoing the English course without understanding why. A week later, a new client signs up for that specific course, and our old system doesn't
Mm.
work anymore. But like, could I predict it?
Mm.
No, I could not predict, because I didn't even know that person. That person got introduced. We
Yeah.
hopped on the call, and 3 days later, he was a client. So there's no, and when we follow the emotions, when we learn how to work with our emotions correctly, it will start guiding us in the right direction. I'll give you another example. I'm sitting on the couch, and my mind goes, let's use the example of the beach. I want to go to the beach, right? In the same scenario. And if I play into my mind, it came up with the idea, because my day is not booked, I should be going to the beach, and I force it. But when I try to go to the beach, I start feeling contraction. I don't have energy. There's no energy there. So I won't get the energy I desire there. If I forced it, which in the past I did, I went through, I could have showed up, and there would be not, then there would be not a spot there for me. Something else would happen, and blah, blah, blah. Right? Or I just wouldn't enjoy it and come back like tired, and it's like, fuck this. Whereas here, I stayed home, worked on the course, and got energized. So our emotions is the main instrument for us to navigate this Pokemon Go game of collecting energies. And that's what basically emotions are at the end of the day.
Mm. So, for example, and I'll use this lovely book once again, right?
Yeah.
David Hawkins, he talks about letting go of emotions. And we always hear this like,
Yeah.
you need to let go of your emotions. And from a matrix perspective, why is this useful? And then what processes or modalities would allow this to most effectively happen?
Yeah.
Or do
So
we need to let go of emotions?
number one, no, because it's like saying, hey, why don't we rip out a dashboard in the car that shows you the speed, all the indicators, if the car is working properly? Why don't we just rip it out and you go drive on the road? Do you see what I mean? That's
Mm,
basically, so no, we don't let go emotions. We let go of distortions in our structure that cause incorrect emotions, or I shouldn't even say incorrect, low vibrational emotions that send us, that
mm,
cause short circuit, because anger is just energetic short circuit. When energetic short circuit happens, our reaction is to be angry. That's how it expresses an emotion. So what we actually want to remove is those entanglements that create short circuits, that create low vibrational emotions, that create anger, guilt, jealousy, competition, scarcity, etc., greed, right? And the way we untangle those wires that call energetic wires that cause short circuit, they're also called nadis in Vedic teachings. There are like 72,000 plus main uh, energetic wires in the body. And if you look at acupuncture, that's based on that. If you look at a bunch of things, uh, like nervous system is somewhat aligned with those. So if you look at the energetic wires that goes through us and you look at the nervous system that goes through us, they're more or less
mm-hmm,
mimicking each other. So and here we're going more into biological anatomical explanation, how the short circuit happens. It happens on an energetic level, then it gets sent to a nervous system, and you end up being angry, smacking through the wall. All right. So basically, letting go of emotions, what it means is finding those entanglements and untangling them. And those entanglements are caused by that they have different root causes. The biggest entanglements, and we talked about it. There's a whole episode about it, is karma, which is basically we don't know how to interact with specific type of energy, so we created all types of incorrect worldviews or distorted worldviews of interacting with that type of energy. For example, you're learning how to interact with energy of money. So it's easier for
mm.
you to get unbalanced when it comes to money than to another person who is not who learned how to interact with money. Like the person who learned
Super
how to,
easy.
yeah, exactly. The person who knows how to interact with energy of money, like even if they have like minus $10 million in the bank, it doesn't even bother them. It's like, oh, it's just a flow of energy. I'm in this current state, like whatever, I'll resolve this issue. The person who can have 10 plus $10 million in the bank and they don't know how to interact with energy, and they'll feel poor, scared, and they'll try to save this money, protect it, and all types of low vibration emotions come out. So when we don't know how to interact with specific type of energy, it sends us for this energetic loops where we get stuck in one or another type of low vibrational emotion, which are all aspects of anger or short circuit, because we didn't learn how to interact yet. And to learn how to interact with it is actually simple, is all about the worldview and perspective. So, oh, money is just energy, and money is energy that is given to me to navigate material aspects of this life. And when we understand how the matrix works, if a person is aligned with their purpose and is working on themselves, on their growth and evolution, matrix will always provide comfort. material, physical comfort. So that's it. Once we, on the deepest level, understand that and integrate that, and then have that experience. And I shared with you an experience when I was negative. And in my life, I've been negative multiple times, especially business building businesses where I couldn't even pay
Yeah.
for a coffee. And I was like, yeah, it stressed me for 15, 20 minutes. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll find a solution. It will self-resolve. And it always resolved. So I stopped being stressed about it. And because I developed so-called faith, because I watched multiple events where, and because I know how to interact with the energy of money, it didn't send me down super deep depressive loops that you would experience, because I know how to interact with that energy. Yeah, it will create some stress, but then I was like, that's fine. It always worked out. Even in the moments where it first didn't work out, so the first moments when we struggled, it created stress, but then I was like, I'll resolve it. And like I brush it off very rapidly. But for a person
Mm.
predisposition who doesn't know how to interact with an energy, or what we call karma, they can go for a much deeper, bigger loop. So coming back, tying the pieces together, why developing this quality of observer that we talked before we turn on the recording, so important
Yeah.
through yoga, breath work, and meditation, is because when you have that ability to shift from an actor to observer, because when you're locked in an actor, then you play out your emotions, and emotions control you. That's it. You're like, if you're guilty, now you're down on yourself, you lock yourself in the room, you guilt trip yourself, blah blah. You start a process of self-destruction, because it's anger towards yourself. If you stuck
Yeah.
in that state for long enough, all types of health problems come up, etc., etc. When we're an observer, we catch the pre-emotion. So we catch, contraction. There's a contraction. Pull yourself out and observe, I'm angry. And you don't have to play it out. And now the anger is just the short energetic short circuit just passes through you. It's same as, you put a fork in a power outlet, it explodes and it stops. So, but you need to let the explosion to unfold. And one shitty way of letting the explosion to unfold is keeping the fork in and trying to stick it further and trying to hold it, and etc. And it gets worse. That's what happens when we stay as an actor, when we cannot detach. So it gets worse and worse and worse because we keep sending energy there. And usually the way we send energy there is by resisting it. So whereas when you shift to an observer, the observer is always in a state of acceptance. Whatever happens, happens. I was like, okay, I'm angry. So you stop sending energy. It deflates. There are actually studies. I don't remember the exact number, that these strong emotions, if you develop the state of observer, the strong emotion, I believe, can only persist for 17 seconds.
Really?
Yeah. But most people don't have this skill of observer. So they hold on to the fork that is in the power outlet, and it keeps fucking shocking them. They're shaking, their hair is starting to burn because they don't detach. If you once you learn to detach, it cannot exist longer than 17 seconds or something like that. There's like they studied it deeply.
So is that sort of Hawkins' process of letting go? Is it all about detachment then, more or less, or is it about acceptance, or how does it work?
Um, I've read this book. Well, actually, I listened to the audiobook, and I clearly remember it. I was driving from San Francisco to LA, and that was probably 3 years ago. So now I like don't remember the aspects, like the details of it. From what I remember, he offers his own method to deal with those
Mm.
situations where you get a short circuit, was basically those karmic or traumatic knots. And he has his own methods, how he navigates them, how he suggests to process them. And that's what he means, let go of emotions. And what
Okay.
I'm suggesting here, his method is his method. One method that I've seen work for myself and for many people who we work with is developing
Mm.
this observer skill. And the easiest way to develop this skill of a observer, I shared with you before the call, I shared it, I'll share it for
Yeah.
listeners here and viewers, is very simple. It's three levels of observer. Number one, yoga. You do pick 15 minutes on YouTube or on any app of yoga that you enjoy. Do 15 minutes of yoga. That teaches you to observe the most gross aspect of your being, which is body, physical body, the most dense energy. You learn to observe the most dense energy. So you feel where the muscles are not as flexible, they stretch, and that's why the whole concept there, you observe as you do a pose or a position. You observe, you bring your focus to the place of attention, and you breathe out. Now you're developing a skill of observing your physical body, the most dense part of yourself. Then breath work. Do 5 minutes of breath work. Pick the breath work that resonates for you. For everybody, it will be different. So I recommend to everyone that should work for majority of people, 90% plus of people, is alternative nostril breathing. You breathe in through one nostril, hold, breathe out through the other. Breathe in back through that, and what it does is basically synchronizes the left and right hemisphere in the brain, but also what it does, it synchronizes a bunch of energetic channels and structures in your body. There is a left and right energetic channel that go then to your left and right hemisphere. It's interesting, they flip. There's more technicalities to it, but doesn't matter what it does, it synchronizes that. What we're doing, the skill we're developing, as we're doing the breath work, we're also learning to observe the less gross structure of our being, which is our breath. And then only we go into a meditation. And once again, you pick the meditation type that resonates for you. You can, like, as simple as guided meditations in the apps, on YouTube, whatever. Pick one, and after you've done yoga, and I'm talking about one set. And what I recommend: 15 minutes yoga, 5 minutes breath work, and then around 30 minutes meditation. But as we worked with you, I've suggested start as little as 5 minutes meditation, and then add 1 minute every couple of days, and you'll be surprised. 6 months later, you'll be doing 20, 30, 40 minutes. And then you do meditation. And the reason you do meditation after those is then you are ready to observe the finest energy, which is our thoughts and our feelings and emotions. And it's
Mm.
so much easier to observe them once you've practiced on, let's call it, more dense, more gross energy, and then you move to a finer energy. And so yoga, breathwork, meditation, set up that practice. It could be as short as 20 minutes, all of them together. It could be as long as a couple hours. At some point in time, I was doing a couple hours and I enjoyed it. Start with that, and that develops that quality of observer. And then you can basically, as the pre-emotion starts developing, contraction or expansion, if it's contraction, you bring yourself to an observer and you're like, oh, let's see what comes out of this. And then you observe it. You don't participate in an actor. And that comes then brings us to an important question. A lot of people ask us, well, but everybody tells me to not to suppress my emotions. That's exactly what it is. This is a constructive way of not suppressing your emotions. One way of not suppressing your emotions, which also works, just fucking scream at a person if you're angry. That's also a method. Less constructive, but it works. And I know people who are, like, for example, in the Western culture, there's a lot of suppression, especially like Canadian culture. Like, everybody has to be nice. Suppress, suppress, suppress. You feel angry?
Yeah.
No, don't show it. You feel guilty? Don't show it. You feel jealous? Don't show it. Suppress, suppress, suppress. And one of the reasons, well, so that's Canadian culture, but generally Western culture and Western professional world taught us, if you want to progress in a career, you cannot show your feelings and emotions, because that's not constructive. That's going to impede your ability to climb the professional ladder. And that's how people accumulate so much unprocessed internal tension, and that's like like almost a separate conversation on its own. But some cultures, like let's say you go to Turkey, emotional people, or Italians, they say it like it is, and like I was dating somebody in Turkey, and she was angry. She fucking screamed at me, and I was like, I didn't understand back then, but she was so much better off health wise, emotionally, and physically than me, because she expressed exactly how she felt. It was very difficult to be around that person because she was just generally quite unstable internally. So there's like a lot of
Yeah.
work she needed to do on herself, like almost everyone on this planet. And she just blasted it out on another person. So not fun for the other person, but very healthy for her, because she processed it right in the moment, right? She didn't hold
Mm.
anything back. Not very constructive for collaboration or co-creation or coexistence. Uh, with that said, hence the constructive way of doing it is developing that quality of observer. Anger comes up, you allow that energy or shock goes through your system. You don't participate in an actor, you don't play it out, it just passes. And you haven't suppressed it, it passes. It's just energy. And as it passed, you continue constructive interaction with the other person. And that's not suppressing. So I'll pause.
Well, so in if we think about it, then are are all emotions useful, or are some to be, kind of avoided? Or are they all useful, and we're simply opening up the dashboard and using every emotion possible to point us towards whatever our next North Star is?
You nailed it. You cannot cover half of the dashboard and drive the car. Right? And that's what people are doing. Oh, this one is bad, this one is bad, this one is bad, this one is fine, this is okay, this one I like. And it's like you covered the engine light, the tires light, and you covered part of the speed dashboard, and you're driving. You might have popped your tire, and something's wobbling, but you're like, what the fuck is going on? So there's no not useful emotions. Just once again, it's type of energy. So it's like if you cover part of a dashboard, you're walking around life half blind, and you're not paying attention.
Mm,
And you're not even, because you covered it, you don't even know how to get out of the situation, and it will keep repeating until you look there. So might as well start with the aspect that emotion is just energy that is trying to show us where there's a pop tire, or where to go to get most of the joy and happiness.
yeah.
So once we accept that, then we have full dashboard, and we're like, wow, we keep getting angry here, or we keep getting guilty here. Let's really look at the situation in depth and rewire our worldview, understand what's happening, and rewire our worldview. And as soon as we rewire our worldview, it disappears, and we're like, wow, we don't feel guilty anymore. Like, for example, like when I promised something to someone, well, on one end it's a contract, but I've learned now not to create contracts. So it's like, hey, I sense probably this will be done around then, but I don't know how it's going to pan out. And it's just like more a what is it called, suggestion, or I'm sharing my assessment of situation. I'm not creating an
Mm,
energetic contract. Whereas previously I'd be like, hey, it will be done by 2, I guarantee. That's creating an energetic contract. But even then,
got it.
if let's say I create an energetic contract, create by something by Tuesday, and I realize the energy is just not aligned, and things are just not aligned in the matrix and the world to do that on that timeline, I would start guilt tripping myself. I would feel bad because it was ingrained and as me and into me in the past as a child, in a Eastern, growing up in Belarus, Eastern Europe, uh, by like strict parents. It's like if you promise something, you have to do it, and that's it. The amount of guilt that start coming up if like I'm arriving on Monday and I feel I want to get it done by Tuesday is just super distractive. And then I realized like, even if I do that, I create that energetic contract that I promise something by Tuesday, and by Monday I realize it's not happening. I pick up a phone and be like, hey, listen, It's not happening. Here are the reasons. Let's figure out a new timeline. That's it. There's no need to self-destroy.
So quick aside
Yeah.
on that I want to go into now that you brought that up. So if we were to look at, I would just say, modern business culture or modern success
Yep.
culture, you have a lot of people, and I've been in this trap before too. That's why I want you to
Yep.
speak on it, where even like with coaching or success coaching, they will have this sense of accountability. So it's like you say like, okay, I'm having this project done in 30 days, and the thing that's going to push you over the line is going to be the guilt, the shame, the fear that allows you to have it done in 30 days. So are those energetic components necessarily useful, or are we kind of hurting ourselves more than we're actually helping ourselves to achieve more?
We're hurting ourselves more. And what we're doing, we're basically saying, I'm okay with my dashboard not being calibrated. So I actually not sure what speed I'm going at because I've decided to guilt trip myself as an instrument. That means dashboard is not calibrated. It's like the calibrated dashboard is like, I understand what the energy of guilt is and I should never experience it in my life. That's what we're learning as part of this life, not to experience those low vibration feelings, emotions, because we've learned how to attune and align ourselves with the unfolding of our life and the life outside of us. That's the so-called alignment. And what we were briefly chatting about before the call is people misunderstand the structure. They think that uh, they are so attached to their personality and identity. Let's say in this scenario, Nikolai, and that's what creates so-called egocentric behavior, that I create everything. No, the way the world works, matrix creates everything, and we either align with the flow of energy to unlock that creation in matrix, or we don't, and then it doesn't get created. And another way of explaining, everything is energy. This body is more dense energy. So since everything is energy, there are specific streams of energy that are unfolding around us, and we're just a sailboat with a sail. We can either feel the flow of energy and set up the sail so that aligned with the wind, and now then our life becomes happy, effortless, full of energy, and we get to where we're supposed to get. Or we're like, we know better, I'm gonna fucking pull out a paddle and I'm gonna paddle the hardest way possible in that other direction just because I think it's better. And that's what happens with those business coaches and all this coaching. In the first place, the mind, if a person is not aligned, most of the goals they set up are already misaligned. So they've set up in the first place misaligned goal, and now they're trying to fucking paddle using guilt and shame and discipline and all that stuff to already wrong destination. So it's like double and triple self punishment.
So I know in psychology and NLP, there's things they call meta programs, and you see how this plays out in two different ways. And so I want you to speak on this for a second, because people will either have, and usually it's a blend in certain areas, but they'll have what's called towards meta program, which is like you're going towards the thing that you
Yeah.
want, and people will use that in sales pages and sales language, like where it's like become the
Yeah,
greatest
yeah.
version of yourself or whatever,
Or you're going away from
like
something.
like become
Yeah.
become become fit and beautiful,
Yeah.
right? Which would be that
Yeah.
language, versus the away, which is
Stop being
like,
fat.
you know, stop being fat, like
Shaming.
lose the
Yeah.
fat
Yeah.
now, right? And so and these are motivation strategies. One is like, okay, I'm moving towards something, and the other one is I'm moving away from pain. So is it that really what we need to do at the end of the day is not have an away program, I guess, even though I could imagine in some instances maybe away programming is useful. Can you
Yeah.
talk about
Well,
that
in
at
the
all?
first place, I would remove this construct of away. Like, you don't want to move away from anything. Meaning, if you're going into this low vibrational feeling, you want to go into it so you can actually unpack. But you go into it so you don't suppress it. You feel it from a state of observer, where you don't play out. But even if you play out, because the challenge, a lot of people play out unconstructively, then they start guilting and shaming themselves. So that was my program as well. If I would blast out angry at someone, I would guilt and shame myself. That's like, oh, I was
Mm.
so unconstructive. Whereas that example of a woman who I was dating, uh, she screamed at somebody, zero guilt and shame. It's just how life
Mm.
unfolds. It's just part of decoration of life, and that is actually a correct mindset. I'm not recommending to scream and do all this like puke all of your low vibrational feelings and emotions onto somebody else. But that's
Yeah.
one of the constructive ways. If at the end of the day you don't guilt yourself over it, right? If you haven't developed another method, that is better than not dealing with it, meaning suppressing it, because then ultimately
Mm.
you're getting fucked. Uh,
Yeah.
so, and the other person, okay, they dealt with some of your stuff and they'll move on with their life. That's their lesson as well, because everything is what is it called? It's a multiplayer game. Whatever unfolds for everybody involved. So it's not like the other person did not deserve that experience. If they experience that, that means there is energy within them, like of a victim or something else, where they need to be screamed at. And once you deal with that energy, let's say of victimhood, there's not a single person that will be able to scream at you. That's how Matrix works. Like, there's no resonance internally. So let's say in me, there was, when we were dating, there was a lot of victimhood in Nikolai, in that version of Nikolai.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, she fucking screamed the most nasty things ever at me. Once that got healed, she tried, it would not land. And then I was like, you know what? This not relationship's not working for me anymore, and I just leave.
Yeah.
And then once it's fully integrated, a person cannot show up in my field and scream at me. They'll try their normal behavior and it will get stuck, and I've observed it many times, because there's nothing in me that would permit that person to play out that way. So if you can scream at someone, that means they've earned it. Meaning, not just because for them that's an experience to untangle as well. So coming back to
Mm.
to your question of a way, like you want to go into those either as an actor, that's less constructive per se. Constructive from a standpoint of view of evolution. If two conscious people are screaming at each other, they can process that as a single. If people are not processing it, they thought that was just a fight and live now so-called shitty life because they were screamed at. Or another
Yeah.
constructive way, you developed an observer. And for me, that is more resonant because my dominating energy is harmony and order, and I always desire my surrounding to be in harmony. So hence, I learned to use the observer. Anytime something comes up, I shift to observer. I communicate to another person. I was like, I'm angry right now, and I think we should pause this interaction until I observe and process this, and then we can continue. It could be in half an hour, or we can just meet up again tomorrow, or get on a call tomorrow, or whatever. And for me,
Yeah.
that keeps my environment in harmony, which is my desire. I enjoy that. I go and learn a lesson from that, and then I continue that interaction. And that's why we don't want to move away. And we actually, I would flip it. We want to move towards those, because that's where the most of the growth is hidden. It's like a practical example. If a soccer player only knows how to kick with the right leg, and then he just starts avoiding using his left leg, then he becomes limited as a soccer player. Like if you look, yeah, people have a stronger, let's say, preference of what they use, but the real top professionals can play with both legs almost at the same level. And hence, we don't want to be like, oh, there's these low vibration emotions here, we're not going to ever look there. You become one-legged soccer player, and it will get as bad as where something happens to one of your legs and you can't even run at the end of the day.
Yeah. Interesting. So thinking towards Matrix 6 that's unfolding,
Yeah.
right? What emotions will be permitted in Matrix version 6.0, or what emotions will just be there? Are there going to be certain emotions that we won't be experiencing as we move forward to the 6th version of Matrix, or will we have all the emotions and they're going to be expressed differently? How's that going to show up?
Excellent question. Number one, six. Let's differentiate fifth and sixth matrix. Fifth matrix is all about harmonizing your personality. So fifth matrix
Mm.
is developed to learn interaction of with how to interact with all types of energies through personality. So that's why we have the experience we have. We scream at each other, we guilt trip ourselves, and the list goes on. We feel greedy, jealous, and etc. Because through personality, we'll learn how to interact with other types of energies. Matrix 6, first of all, you can only shift if you harmonize your personality. And if you harmonize your personality, you know how to interact. Even if you face the energy you don't know how to interact with, you're not lashing out. You're just, oh, there's a new energy that's creating a short circuit in me, and I'm going to observe it and study it. So in the sixth energy, we will still experience short circuits, but they will not be expressed they will not be expressed through personality. So, and the reason is six matrix, as we've talked about it, is a creative lab. What else and how else we create? So we are still learning new types of energies, but through process of creation rather than through personality. So when in the fifth matrix, when we learn through personality, we get this balance in the way we express. In the sixth matrix, let's say you're developing a new plant that produces high protein fruit or vegetable, and you
Mm-hmm.
face challenges. And the reason you face challenges is because you face some energies that you still don't know how to interact with. So you still face challenges, but now you don't throw your hands up and get fucking angry and flip the table and whatever, because that was the fifth matrix. You're just like, oh, how do I navigate this situation? Okay, I'm gonna go sit, meditate on this, or I'm gonna go collaborate with somebody. You're trying to resolve an issue. Now you're using very different methods. The method in the fifth matrix, because it comes right through personality, to work on the personality. The methods in the sixth matrix will be different because it expresses in a process of creation. It won't even express in your personality, because the person who can transition to the sixth matrix has already harmonized the personality. So they will not get like fucking angry that they cannot get this project complete. They'll just be like, huh, I'm stuck here. Okay, let's come up with all the ways how I can get unstuck here.
Okay, interesting. And uh, lastly, what's the link between emotions and manifestation?
Mm.
Because you always hear people, it's
Yeah.
the term du jour where everybody's like, I need to manifest this. I need the secret. Where is the secret? Where's my law of attraction? Where's my
Yeah.
manifestation? So when we're looking through the lens of the matrix and we're looking at, harmonizing emotions, where where is that link between emotions and
Yeah.
manifesting physical reality?
So emotion is key, as everybody says in their books and courses and whatever. Yeah, exactly. And the reason it's key is because the way matrix works. Remember the second universal law of energy preservation: whatever you put out, you receive. I'll give you
Hmm.
an example. I really desire to earn more money, and you charge it with the energy of scarcity, because I don't have enough. I don't have enough. Right? That's the emotion you put in a manifestation without even realizing
Yeah.
it. Guess what? You will earn more money, but you'll still be poor, because you've created a manifestation to create a reality where you experience scarcity. You've just created a form thought, which is, I want more money. So let's say you make 10K a month. Now you're making 100K a month. But the way the universe played out and the matrix played out for you, now your expenses, like living costs increase, the business costs and etc., everything increased, and you're still barely breaking even, because that manifestation was charged with scarcity. So whatever you've put out, you receive back. If you put out scarcity, you get back scarcity. The form thought made sense. You wanted 100K a month, right? You got the
Yeah.
100K a month, but you're still poor. So nothing has changed. And another great example is like when people start manifesting out of fear. Like, let's say somebody had a drink and they're driving back home, and it's like, oh, I need to manifest not to be caught by police. The matrix doesn't understand the word no. It just understands the form thought, the image, and the feeling. So now let's put one and one together. Your image is police, because that's what's coming up. Fuck, I might get caught by police. And then the,
Yeah.
the feeling is fear. So matrix combines those. Police should create a situation of fear for you. So you've just attracted being caught by police, right?
Yeah.
To flip that is, I drive home, or like, first of all, don't drink and drive. That's breaking rules. But if you end up doing that and you need to navigate this, I was like, I drive safely home. I drive slowly, I pay attention, and I safely arrive home. And you charging it with the state of peace, and like everything will be okay. I'll be extra careful. If you're faced with a situation where you have to do it, there's no way out. Well, there's always a way out, but let's assume such situation exists. So you now created an image where you're arriving home safe, and you charge it with a feeling, emotion of peace and comfort and everything being okay. So that's how we create reality. And just to add a little bit more context about emotions and feelings, and that's a little bit more technical, there are different energetic bodies. So we have our physical body. People get attuned to their physical body. Then the next body, and now bunch of studies, you can take pictures of these bodies. It's not woo woo esoteric at all. It's all like now scientific. Even today I saw a new post that our cells emit light. So you know how we talk a lot about happiness is amount of energy that passes through, or it's amount of
Hmm.
light that exists within us. So
Yeah.
there's new technology that can capture the tiny amounts of light, and our body actually emits light. So it's not woo woo like all the stuff that the spiritual people were saying. Oh, there is light within us. There is
Yeah.
actual light within us. And now
It's
finally
really
it has
there.
been proven, right? So where I'm going with this is, so the second, so physical body, the most dense body, the next body is the etheric body. It's around this, like, let's call it 1 to couple inches away, and it covers. Then the next body is emotional body, which is also called astral body. And the next body is the mental body. So when we don't haven't developed that observer skill, the emotional or astral body takes over control of the physical body, and it says and acts all types of funny shit, throwing, forks at the wall, screaming at people, and etc. That's when we lost control to our emotional body. When we develop the observer, we feel how the energy flows in that body, and we can manage it. So right now,
Mm.
for me, my emotional body most of the time is in a state of peace, whereas emotional body rotating clockwise is a constructive behavior. It's a high vibration feeling. Rotating counterclockwise, we also call it left, is destructive expression. So when we manifest in a state where it rotates counterclockwise, or we call it also left torus, because our energetic structure is like a torus, and there are a bunch of images online, you can look it up. And this torus starts spinning left counterclockwise. That is designed so that we can destroy things that have served us and don't serve us anymore. So when we go into low vibrational feelings, we start destroying wherever we point the focus. For example, guilt, we point the focus towards ourselves, and that starts destroying us, our energy, our physical body, and etc. When we point towards somebody else, it starts destroying that object. Let's say you're like angry at the car, you're like, fuck this car. And that car breaks a couple days later because you just sent a destructive energetic charge to that object.
Mm.
And then our mental body is our thoughts. And we learn the world through a mental body. And when we have correct knowledge in our mental body, then it is much easier to manage all the other bodies and interact with them. Because when you have this, for example, understanding, oh shit, is just energy spinning. That's what emotion is. Why? Like I choose and I develop this ability not to engage as an actor to this. And now I'm just going to balance this energy. And you pause strong rotation of emotional body to the left or counterclockwise. That's what stabilizes a person. Then they regain the access to their mental body. That's, by the way, what also happens why people so-called lose their mind. What's actually happens
Mm.
to access it, if a emotional body is spinning so fast, you have no access to your mental body, which is next body out.
Yeah.
If your point of consciousness is in your identity and your physical body. So if you're in your physical body and in your identity of Nikolai or Mitch, to access mental body, I have to travel through emotional bodies, through etheric body, emotional body, but it's spinning so fast. As soon as I reach that, it just took me for a fucking roller coaster, so I can't think straight. But what is the if we go more technical here on the on a skill of observer, I take my point of consciousness, put it outside of all these bodies, and I observe them from outside, and now I see how the emotional is spinning, and I can access my mental body because I'm outside of that
Mm.
structure.
Got it. Got it. So that makes sense as to why then you want to develop that skill as the observer, so that no matter what's going on, you still have access to all the different.
Exactly. You become a true CEO of your being, because now all these aspects, because this being is super complex, multi-dimensional, multifaceted, multi everything, right? And without the knowledge, different aspects of this being take control. When you develop the observer, you can pull out and as something, as a specific aspect of this being, took control of acting, you can pull out
Mm.
and study what has taken control at this point in time, study that aspect, and if it's inharmonious, harmonize that aspect. And that's how you develop ability of self-heal, self-harmonize, self-evolve, self-develop, and etc. And that's why this to be honest, I underestimated the value of developing this skill of observer or quality of observer. And the reason I underestimated it, because that's where my journey started. So I didn't connect the dots that I first developed that ability, and then I went to learning everything. So like I meditated before I got all this knowledge and things I needed to do and etc. I put in thousands of hours of meditation, yoga, and breath work, and that developed that ability. And here's, by the way, side effect and side note for your
Mm-hmm.
practice. So like, let's talk about sex. Like for a lot of men, it's difficult to perform in bed. The technical
Yeah.
reason why it's difficult to perform in bed is because our point of consciousness shifts down there, and that part of our body runs the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like any average man, it was difficult for me to perform in bed. There were lucky days, there were unlucky days, you know? And there was zero understanding of patterns or how I could turn unlucky days to lucky days and etc., right?
Yeah.
Then I started observing something strange. I started meditating a lot, and then there's like, let's call it, there was pause in my sexual life. I was in between relationships, and then I started seeing a new person, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? It seems like I'm a superhuman. I can manage what I do, how I do, when I go, how long I want to last. First, I thought it was a fluke. It was all about her. That's what I thought. I was like, okay, it's a fluke, but great, spectacular time. I've never had such spectacular sexual time in my life up until this point, right? There were little
Yeah.
glimpses, and then that relationship ended. Then there was the pause, and then the new relationship comes, and I was like, fuck, I guess now I'm back to the same bullshit. So I attributed it to her, something about her, something about
Mm.
us together. You know, we somehow
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
subconsciously understood each
Combination.
other. It was the right mix. And then I
Yeah.
start observing that I can perform in this new relationship, in this new relationship again. And I was like, I started digging in. What happened is I just developed this ability of observer. So when specific part of my energy or body started taking control, I would pull myself out, observe, and make decision. Right now, it's too early to finish because the woman is not satisfied yet.
Yeah.
And I would start managing my energy and my physical body, and that's the, let's call it the unexpected side effect with a lot of bonuses in this aspect of life that I've gained as I developed this ability of observer.
Yeah. And that totally tracks because I often use a lot of metaphors like when I'm coaching guys. But one of the things I talk about at length is this concept of the audible, and that comes from American football, but it's that ability to be there in the line of scrimmage and be able to see what's going on. And it is that ability to be the observer. You're there at the line of scrimmage and you're like, okay, I don't like the defensive formation, or you know what's going on in the bedroom ain't working right now. But there's that aspect where it's like you're chill, you're not freaking out, you're stepping up above, and it's like, okay, what is my next move, or what is the place that I can go next, which would change the sensations that I'm currently having. And it's very much a meta level uh, observation and a way of thinking about the event, because it's like, okay, when you're able to call the audible, you're like, okay, you know what, here's the thing that I need to do next, and it is so clear as what needs to
Yep.
happen. But it is very much a a aspect of being able to step above, like you're the coach of the
You're an
team,
observer. That's
right?
literally what yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I use that word. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you see,
Yeah.
it's interesting. You've already developed that skill in specific aspect of your life. Now
Yeah.
bring that skill to other aspects. And the reason yoga, breathwork, meditation is still important because uh, you've learned when you are in a sexual interaction situation, you've learned to manage your emotional body in that situation, so it doesn't start spinning out of control. And as a result,
Yeah.
it's super easy for you to pop out to what you call audible point, right? And you start
Hmm.
understanding, analyzing what's happening, and you know what the next step is and how to perform and to get to a specific point, right?
Yep.
Whereas in situation where you get caught off guard, your emotional body starts spinning left or counterclockwise super fast, and now you don't have access to your mental body, and you don't have you haven't found the ability to pop out to audible. But since you know how it feels, you can try applying that when that happens. And by the way, when I was having panic attacks, the first thing they teach you, you write a step-by-step list of how you're going to deal when you face it, because you don't have access to mental body, and it becomes all physical instincts. So you have this short note: I am not dying, this is temporary, whatever words resonate for you. And then like
Yeah.
there are specific like 2-3 sentences that help you pop out into observer. And it has to be accessible in the beginning all the time. And that's what when I had panic attacks, that's what I had to do. I had to develop this mechanic. It's part of the cognitive behavior therapy. That's one of their core instruments, and it works because when your emotional body is fucking spinning out of control, you're like, I can read. I can still read. The eyes can still read. You still remember, because it's like riding a bike. You somehow still remember
Yep.
that capability. You're like, I am not dying. Shit, that's right. I'm not dying. Okay. Okay. What else here? The next sentence. Oh, the next. Oh, okay. That's just a temporary
It's
state.
so funny how this tracks. It's so funny how this tracks because when I'm coming up with bedroom
Yeah.
strategies for guys, it's very much the same thing. It's like, okay, like we put together a sequence of steps that you're going to go through, like, so that we can manage those emotions and the anxiety that's coming up. It's like, okay, step one, we're doing this. Step two, we're
Yeah.
doing that. And it's very much the same in a checklist kind of format, so that you're there. And even though your brain is kind of shut off, it's like, oh no, do this. Oh, feel this. Okay, change this. Got it. And you can keep moving forward when your whole system is like, I don't know what to do. No, we got the checklist. Like, let's
Yeah.
go. Right.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So men are more usually, on average, more attuned to their mental body. So they work with their emotions usually through their mental body. Women usually more attuned with their emotional body, and hence they work through emotional body with the thoughts and the thought constructs. So that's why women are so focused on emotions, men are so focused on thoughts, and that's why there's regular misunderstanding between men and women. And but the goal is, where there is a distortion in the today's version of the society, the woman saying, I'm just emotional, that's how I am, I'm a woman. Biggest fucking bullshit ever.
Yeah.
As a woman, it is even a higher priority for you to learn how to work with your emotional body, not be impulsive, emotional, and that's how I am. That's a distortion for women to never discover their true power and sovereignty. When they say that, they basically shut down their sovereignty and their power. I'm just emotional. No, if you haven't learned how to develop, how to interact with your emotional body, nah, you're not a woman. You're not a true woman. You're reinforcing a feminine toxicity, or whatever you want to call it, or
Mm-hmm.
toxic feminism, and likely, well, this world has been run by man, or the mental body, so called, and hence for men was easier in this world because we're more in tune with the mental body and less in tune with emotional. But where we're shifting is to get in tune with emotional. But it at the end of the day, every being to become complete, they know how to manage every aspect of their structure. You cannot like learn driving a car and only turn right, because then to get anywhere it will be much longer, or some spots you won't be able to get to at all, right? So hence everyone has to develop a skill to manage their mental body, their emotional body, and similarly their masculine energy and feminine energy. And by the way, those are two different ones. Even though I'm connecting them, there's also masculine energy, feminine energy. So that's a completely separate conversation.
Yeah, and we will be diving into that because we all want to be able to go right, left, and sometimes in reverse. So thank you very much,
Awesome,
Nikolai.
Mitch.
We will be letting go of all sorts of things
In a correct way
right?
now, in a productive
way.
way that actually helps you grow rather than suppress.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to more matrix integration next week, and I will see you then.
Likewise, chat soon.